Now, there might be a global pandemic and a record drop in passenger numbers worldwide, but for one airline, there has never been a better time to launch a new service. In just a few hours, JetBlue will become the latest budget airline to make its first transatlantic flight from New York to London.
The company insists there is a strong demand for the route, despite the fall in global travel. The airline plans on cutting costs by using smaller aircraft for cheaper flights. Well, let's talk now to Andrew Charlton, who's the Managing Director of the consulting firm Aviation Advocacy. Thanks very much indeed for joining us on the programme today. So I think it'd be fair to say that air travel is a shadow of its former self. So what makes JetBlue think that this is the right time to launch a new route?
It's interesting, isn't it, that aviation is about 80% of what it used to be for domestic routes, so within the US, within China, within Europe. But you're absolutely right. It's only about 20% for international routes. But the London-New York route is one of the most important routes in the world. And there is growing hope, I'm almost afraid to call it optimism, growing hope that the recovery is happening. Heathrow's had a better July. We're watching travel starting to rise. So JetBlue, I think, which is a small but solidly based US carrier with a good domestic US network, and based in New York, I should say, based in JFK Airport, has decided to chance its arm. I think what they're after is first mover advantage. Now, at one level, now's a great time to start because there are aircraft available at very cheap rates. There are gates available. There are slots available. Maybe they're going to be in front of the wave and they're going to ride that wave to success.
So what would make a customer choose JetBlue over an established airline such as British Airways? Because looking at the fares, they actually look pretty similar.
Well, they're quite innovative, JetBlue. The fares are quite similar, but their business class product is very nice. I speak from experience, I'm pleased to say. Their economy class product, from which I also speak from experience, is better than your normal long-haul economy, American carrier economy. They have things like free Wi-Fi and free video and things like that. They've done a very good job of making what is a low-cost carrier more comfortable. And they have experience of flying long-haul transcontinental from New York to Los Angeles and routes like that. And then, as you mentioned in your intro, they're using an aircraft called the Airbus A321 long range, A321LR, which is a really fascinating development. It's a small aeroplane. I mean that ever so nicely, but it's a small aeroplane which has been constructed to fly long distances. So it changes the dynamics of the market. Historically, we've used jumbos, we've used 777s, and they are big and they need 250 to 300 people. The A321LR only needs about 100 people, 120 people. Changes the economics. So it might be that the prices are similar, but the prices only have to be slightly better, meaning slightly lower, for it to be attractive for a lot of passengers. And they're banking on the pent-up demand.
Let's talk about Heathrow for a moment. You said that Heathrow had a better July. What do you think the picture is for this now?
Well, it's a bit of a curate's egg, isn't it? Heathrow has had a better July than last year, but that's damning with the very, very faintest of praise. It's clear that there is pent-up demand, and what we've seen at Heathrow is what we've seen at every other airport. As sectors are opened, as travel between countries is allowed, there is a rush for people who want to travel there. And so Heathrow has had much improved performance compared to what it was last year and even compared to what it was earlier this year. And the summer this year, the carriers within Europe and the carriers regionally are looking at, as I say, 75 to 85% of the services that they operated in 2019. Nothing compares to 2019, but 2021 certainly looks better than 2020, and perhaps 2021 is the start of the turnaround.
So this new flight from JetBlue will be flying into Heathrow, but not out of it, because people from the UK are not currently allowed to enter the US. So can it be a success with traffic initially only going one way?
Well, Americans are allowed to fly back to the United States, of course. Those entitled to fly back to the United States are entitled to, and many Europeans are entitled to fly to the United States. Heathrow is a remarkable airport. Heathrow has connections from literally all over the world. So the fact that the UK citizens can't fly to the United States at the moment isn't of itself the end of the story, because, as I say, at least those passengers that have flown over will return. So there will be return passengers and other, I believe, interlining and connecting passengers. But again, maybe what JetBlue's doing is just trying to get that little bit ahead of the curve and to be on the ground and operating when finally the restriction stopping Europeans flying into flying into the United States is lifted. Then at least they're in the game at that point. So maybe their hope is to have first mover advantage.
Andrew Charlton from Aviation Advocacy, thanks very much indeed for joining us.